Hi, today I'm going to create a memory bear. If you don't know what a memory bear is, it's a teddy bear and it's typically made with someone's clothing or a blanket, and it's a very personal item that belonged to somebody special. It can be made for a few reasons. Sometimes it's just to remember a specific time, maybe high school graduation or baby clothes. Sometimes it's to remember someone who's passed away. But they're very personal, very special. Each one is unique because each clothing item is unique. So the memory bear that I'm going to make today is from a men's button-up flannel shirt. I have the shirt right here. It's got a collar and pockets, buttons. This was sent to me and somebody asked me to create a bear for them. The pattern that I like to use when I create memory bears is from Simplicity. It's an older pattern. I haven't seen it in stores in a few years. The reason I like this pattern is it gives me a lot of pieces to choose from. So I can use one shirt, or I can combine several small shirts to make one bear. So to complete today's project, you'll need a shirt and a bear pattern, some scissors, something to trace out your pattern. I like to use interfacing, not everybody does, but I like to use it on my memory bears, especially if the material is a little thin. Okay, so the first step is I'm going to take the shirt and use my scissors to chop it into usable pieces. Larger flat pieces, it'll be easier to trace my patterns on. Whenever I make a memory bear, I take some time to look at the shirt, see what items I could use to add to the bear. This shirt has a button-up front that we're going to use. It also has a collar and some pockets. If the shirt had a graphic or an image that you'd want to include, when you're cutting it, you want to make sure that you're allowing space to use that item. So when I cut this, I'm going to cut the collar off first, then I'm going to cut the buttons off, then the sleeves, and go from there. Now that I'm getting to the collar, since I know I want to use that, I'm going to give myself a little bit of extra, and I can always trim it when that time comes. Okay, so there's the collar. I'm going to set that to the side. Continue cutting up the button front. Once I have the sleeve off, I'm just going to cut along the seam so that it'll lay flat. Now all that's left to cut is the side seams on the shirt and across the top on the shoulder seam. The first memory bear I ever made was for myself. I made it out of my son's baby clothes, and I combined a couple of his outfits to make one bear. After making that bear, I realized how valuable or how precious it is to have something made from a loved one's clothing, and so I started to offer that. Memory bears are a great way to preserve a memory, a keepsake, a treasured item, instead of just having that shirt, that blanket, that dress hanging in a closet and you never see it. If you turn it into something that you can display on your shelf, and it can remind you of that special person or that special time. Now that all the pieces are cut it's time to iron on our interfacing, and then I'll trace and cut the pattern. I'm just going to give the shirt a light iron to get out any of the wrinkles, and then I'll apply my interfacing. If you've never used interfacing before, one side feels a little rough, a little bumpy with the glue on it, and then the other side is smooth. When you put it on, you just put the bumpy side down onto the wrong side of your fabric, hold your iron on there. I usually just hold mine a couple seconds and then move. More of a pressing instead of a ironing motion. Now that the interfacing's attached, I'm going to take my pieces, line them up how I like, and trace around them. When creating a bear for yourself or for someone else, it's always important to ask them what parts of the shirt that they would like to be the focus. Some shirts may have a spot or a stain or a tear, and there may be a story behind that. There may be some memory attached to that, and they may want that included. So it's always a good idea to ask if there's anything particular that they would like to be included in the bear. I don't think that piece is going to fit. You can see with this piece the difference that the interfacing makes. How this one, the side without interfacing, can stretch and it's just a little bit more loose, a little bit more floppy. And then this side that has the interfacing does not have as much stretch, and it's a lot stiffer. So when you cut out your pieces, it's just going to be a lot easier to cut. The fabric will not distort and stretch out your pattern pieces. And I find that this particular interfacing is light enough that when the bear is assembled, it still maintains the soft and cuddliness that you'd want your bear to have. Again, because this bear is utilizing one shirt, so the body, the plaid, will be going up and down just regular, but for the arms I'm going to try and angle them just so they'll stand out a little bit and give the bear some dimension. Now for the head, for the face of the memory bear, I want to try again and put some variety in the pattern to give the face more structure and more depth. So for the center part of the face, I'm going to try and use the plaid in its regular up and down. And then for the cheeks or the side of the bear, I'm going to try and cut it a little bit more on an angle again. Let me add a little bit more interfacing. Creating a memory bear for someone is a very rewarding experience. I enjoy taking something that reminds somebody of someone or of a special time and giving them something that they can hold, something they can display, that will remind them of that person or that moment every time they see it. It can be difficult to make a memory bear sometimes. The reasons that, I don't really know how to say this part, let's see. It can be difficult for people to want to change the clothing into a memory bear. It can be difficult for people to choose to have a memory bear created. It's hard to take that special item of clothing, that one-of-a-kind item of clothing, and to have to cut it and sew it back together. It can be scary to do it yourself. I would recommend, if you wanted to create a memory bear for yourself, practicing on some regular fabric or some old clothes, that not those precious clothes, just some regular old clothes, until you feel more comfortable. That can make it easier. Some people, even though they sew themselves, it's difficult to It can be difficult to cut up that clothing, even when you're confident. So sometimes letting someone else make it for you is the best option. I have made hundreds over the years, and every time, everybody has expressed how happy they are once they receive the finished product, to have something that they can hold and cuddle and just squeeze and display, as I said. So it can be a difficult choice, but I don't think it's one that you would regret. So if you have any old clothes that are special to you or have good memories attached to them, look into having a memory bear created. If you sew, you try and make one yourself. I'll put the pattern that I use in the description. I think it's a great pattern for memory bears. It does give you lots of pieces, so you can utilize lots of special outfits or some of those smaller outfits. Now that I've traced all my pieces, I'm going to cut them out and then we'll start sewing. And you can see while I'm cutting this just how easy that fabric is cutting. It's not getting stretched or distorted, and that's because of that interfacing. Another great option, if you didn't want a memory bear, is you can have a memory pillow or a memory quilt or a wall hanging. You can take those items of clothing and create something that you can display and use to remind you of that special time. You can see here, this is a good example how just shifting your pattern pieces in a slightly different direction can make the fabric have a whole different look. Okay, I have all the bear pieces cut except the sole of the foot. I like to offer the option to have something embroidered on the sole of the feet with my memory bears. Some people like to put a name on there, a date, sometimes a saying, and I also like to include embroidered heart that we'll put on the chest. So in a moment I'll go over to my embroidery machine and show you how I do that. Then I'm going to take these pieces over to my sewing machine and start assembling. Here's the bear all sewn together. I added the buttons, I added an embroidery heart poem, added the pocket, I added a name on the foot, and now I have to stuff them. And there he is stuffed. I'm going to go and hand stitch all of the limbs and the body shut. And then for this bear, I'm going to add the collar. There it is. And in the back, it just has a couple stitches running down the middle. But now it's the perfect size for the bear. So let's finish stitching them up. There he is. It's very handsome. And here's the bear, all done. Isn't he cute? He's so handsome. It's amazing how one shirt can turn into such a cute bear. If you liked this video, please hit the like button. If you want to see more videos from me, please hit the subscribe button. See you later.